Hello everyone. So as you see here, they're talking about increasing the litter fines and the dog fines across the whole country from September. Now there's many things to say about this. Now first of all, that's all well and good. Of course it's all well and good saying it on paper. But in reality, and I get into the reality, but in the reality is that especially with dog fines and litter fines, very seldom, it takes years, first of all, if somebody disputes it, say if you threw, I don't know, a can Lucozade right out the window of your car, and say somebody you get the person, right, you find the license plate, you find out who the person was, you can bring that to court, you can dispute it and say, I'm not paying the fine until I go to court, I'm going to bring my argument to the judge, and let the judge decide did I do it, etc., and to show the evidence, etc. Because a lot of people are not going to pay it, let's put it that way. I get into some of the things because I could write an essay on it, to be totally honest with you, because I've been involved with litter in tiny towns, and the local authorities have heard many things over the years. But we just touch briefly on what it is at the moment. So at the moment in time it's €150, which, as I say, in the whole country of Ireland probably last year. We don't know how the litter fines, how many councils and all the councils together. There'd probably be only about maybe 10 people that were convicted of your litter and etc. And a lot of people were probably convicted, like got the fine to say, you littered at this location at this time. But at the same time too, if they don't pay, they have to go to court, and that takes years. There was a case actually in Cavan. This was 6 years ago, and it only went up to court there about 3 weeks ago about it. And this was 6 years ago. That's how it shows you how long it was. Because again, this is a minor thing. If you throw a can, etc., out the window, it's only a minor thing, and the justice system doesn't take it serious, basically. And people can dispute it. The people have the right to dispute it because but in the majority of cases, if you get a fine and stuff, there's some evidence behind why you did it. I'll explain now another situation that happened. But this is all part of the government trying to clamp down on it, because obviously Cavan County Council back in 2024 spent 1.5 million on just cleaning up rubbish and cleaning up litter and illegal dumping sites, etc. 1.5 million, it's a lot for a small county council to pay. 1.5 million, that's how much just in a year. So an average is probably about $1 million and a bit every year, which could go to better use, basically. People weren't so irresponsible, etc. But and they say about funding to clean up a lot of anti-dumping initiatives, CCTV cameras, etc. But that's all well and good too. But in the same case, as I say, at the end of the day, you have to go to court with it. Even if somebody was caught on CCTV doing this, they would have to go to court. There would have to be a court case, etc. And it takes years, basically, for that to be done. Even if there was. Because again, they could still dispute it, be like, this is not me that did it, and I dispute this and all that, and this, that and the other. And enforcing initiatives. This is the thing. We don't have enough litter ones. We don't have enough councilmen. We don't have enough anything, basically. The government would have to work for nothing, basically, to clean up these sites, etc. But it is unfortunate because we know the people that's doing this. Again, the same with the legal dumping. We know who's doing it. We know it. We know their names. We know everything about them. It's just having to what can you do with them, basically. That's the problem. Because I can name off about 20 people at the top of my head that are literally at nearly every week or every second week, in terms that literally in some cases there's a person down in Lockfoot, he's going around to people's houses and he's saying, if I bring the stuff to the dump for you, if you give me a few bob to do it, right? And he's going around people's houses and he's getting a good lot of bob for it. He's charging them, say, for example, if there's 10 bags or something, they could be charging €50, etc. And he say, I help in the community and stuff. But this is the thing. He doesn't have a license to get rid of the rubbish. And the second thing is, he's dumping the rubbish out into the fields, basically. What I mean to say is dumping it into a spot, or dumping ground, basically. And he's getting the money, he's not paying for it. Even though he's saying he's charging the people to dispose of the waste. He's keeping the money for himself. So there you go. But so what I'm trying to say, don't trust people that just randomly turn up at your house. But as I say, it's by 2027, since 2027, we move over 26,000 tonnes of waste, which is a lot. It could be more, but it should be more, but it's only a bit. Now, I just wanted to talk about this too. As I said, it's all well and good. It's all well and good. It's really all well and good. But they won't pay people. At the end of the day, regardless of the fines, etc., you still need people to clean up the mess. And the government want people to work for nothing nowadays and do it for nothing. And I don't think that's right. Of course, community should do their bit, but I do think the government, the local authority, should man up and pay people, because they don't want to pay people. That's the simple stat. They just don't want to do it. But as I say, I agree that it should be probably more, to be totally honest. It should be probably $4.50 at most. For illegal dump, like not particularly illegal dumping, but dog filing and litter. We're not talking about illegal dumping, but presuming that will go up, it's about 1,500 or so for legally dumping, like bags and say for example fridge or anything like that in Cavan anyway. But this is nationally too, so it will increase in Cavan. But as I say, just for the dog fighting, now I'm well experienced in this too, unfortunately. But just to say on that regard, just to say before going forward on this regard, that of course Leitrim with a county, but Leitrim has started testing dogs for DNA, etc. What I mean by that is you can leak the dog shit, and I know it sounds bad, but you can leak the dog shit that's on the footpath to a dog, basically. If you get them to, like, if they take their dog license, they can test the dog to see what it's, and that's 100% confirmation that it is the dog, if that makes any sense. So there's irrefutable evidence, and every county should have that, to be totally honest. I know people say it's a bit of an overreach, etc., but it's something that it can't be disproven basically in court. If it went to court, the evidence is there basically that unless you had CCTV evidence, etc., the dog's doing it. But that way is the other thing, that the dog shouldn't be running out wild on the street, etc. But again, majority of people who caught for dog fouling and stuff like that, who are caught in the whole country of Ireland, about 2024, there was only about 10 dog fines in the whole country. 10, just to say, in the whole country, even though it's plaguing villages and towns across the country, particularly in Cavan. But they won't do anything about it. I've done this for years. I lifted up dog shit. I was the only person that probably would do it in Cavan. I don't do it anymore. I do it the odd time when somebody asks me to do it. I help them out, of course. If they're on this, like there was somebody 2 weeks ago came to me and said outside their door, no, not outside the door, but outside the footpath, just when they walk off their property onto the public footpath, there was a bit of dog shit and stuff, and they were in the council, and they were waiting a week, and then they came across me, and I done it within 10 minutes. I went and said I get a bag and I go and lift it up, and I did. And that was it, but they waited a week for and who knows, the council probably would never got back to them. What I'm trying to say is they won't pay people to do it, and it's a dangerous job too. You can get many infections and stuff for it. It's a dangerous thing. It really is, especially when it's lying so long. But, you get no tax for it. As I say, I did it, and you got no tax for it from your councillors, etc. You got no tax for it. It was a dirty Hoover job. Not many people do it. Nobody would do it. The councillors wouldn't do it. But again, as I say, you think they would say we were going to help this person out and help them out. We're going to try and encourage more resources, etc., to deal with it, etc. But no, they wouldn't. In fairness to the council, but here, I will say about the dog bins, they have added a lot of dog bins around Cavan, which is great, and dog bags free of charge, just to say, so they don't have an excuse. But at the same time, too, they still need a person around, because at the end of the day, if a dog's running wild, etc., the dog's not going to pick after himself, basically. But as I say, I want to just talk about the story. When it comes to this is all well and good, fine them €250. But at the same time, I just tell you a story. This was to do with in Cavan. I'm not going to say whereabouts it was. I'm not going to out the person, I suppose. But it was a business owner. He had a shop, and he had CCTV. And I don't know what he was looking for on the CCTV, but he happened just to look at it. And he's on the road, right? The shop's on the road. The address of the shop, etc. You could see the road, the public road that's going by it. And it's a busy road. It is a busy road. And he happened to be looking at the CCTV camera, and he happened to catch a person in the car, the license plate, their face and everything on, like the car was coming towards the camera. So you could see everything. This was during the day, so you could see everything. And this person fired out, I think it was a coffee cup, and like one of those like spoons or whatever you call, wooden spoons or something like that, out of his car, like onto your man's property. He rolled onto your man's property. And he went off and behind the council and sent them the video. Because it was irrefutable proof that it was him that done it. Like, you could see his face, you could see his license plate, you could see everything, basically. There's no doubt that the person who was in that car, and we found out, of course, we looked up the car registration, we found out who he was. He was local enough person, he wasn't from that area particularly, but he was from Cavan. But we looked it up and stuff, and he was said the fine of €150 for littering. And he disputed that. He disputed it straight away as soon as he got the fine. He rang up the council saying, I bring this to court, I'm bringing this to court. You have no right. What evidence do you have? Because again, he didn't know he was caught on camera. It was just said, you find at this spot at this time on this date. It wasn't like we have proof to show. So anyway, it went on for a good while. It went on for about 2 months. And your man eventually got a lawyer, got a solicitor, and he said, I'm going to sue the council for defamation, etc. And he said, this is awful, this is discrimination and the whole lot, you're out to get me, basically. Even though, with €150 fine, we're not really out to get somebody, or, etc. There's not much of a fine, as I say. But anyway, what's the solicitor? Because the solicitor said to show us the proof. What happened? What was the situation? How did this come about, this fine? And, they showed him the proof. They showed him the evidence. They showed him the CCTV. Because the solicitor said, show us the proof, or we'll bring this, we'll bring a case against the state. for this, for for one, for etc. One for the desecration of character, I think was the word he used. And of course, he was showing the video, and straight away, the lawyer said, to your man, you probably should, pay the fine, because it was irrefutable evidence. It was irrefutable because you could see his face, and it was the exact fellow and the exact license plate, because they asked for his license plate, and lo and behold, it was the same exact license plate of the same exact car. So there was irrefutable. So he paid the fine, but that went on for 3 months nearly, I think, around 3 months or either 4 months. But again, this fellow could have waited if he didn't get a solicitor to take this up, and he wasn't saying he was being discriminated, etc. That could have went on for years, before that even went to court. But, he paid the fine because he knew he was in the wrong. He knew he was caught, and if it went to court, it'd be shown, and it'd be in the newspapers that we had, the video to show the court. Yes, this is because it was irrefutable, but there was no doubt, unless somebody stole his car. But still, at the same time, too, we would have the Garda report. He would have showed us the Garda report saying this car was stolen. Yes, but there was no doubt. There was no doubt about it. But, these cases can arise like that. But a lot of times, if somebody says, because at the end of the day, if somebody says, I seen this person littering, it's hearsay at the end of the day. When it goes to court, there's often been cases of that. And the judge would dismiss it. Because there was often times people would say about their neighbours dumping rubbish. And it'd be their word against theirs, if that makes any sense. It wouldn't be like, you wouldn't have proof. It'd be different if you had found, you had CCTV evidence, or you had evidence to suggest that it was them that done it. But you don't. It's unless you have that evidence, you pretty much can't get a conviction. Because again, there's only hearsay at the same time. But when it comes to legal dumping and stuff, because many times, and especially these cuts, the brats and stuff, it's a danger of public health hazard. But you look into the bags, oftentimes they come across identification and stuff, and that's how you get them. Because oftentimes there's old bank accounts. You'll be surprised, old bank accounts, old documents. Sometimes bank statements and stuff. Like some people think they're clever because they don't expect people, and a lot of accounts of people wouldn't bother to ask, to go through the rubbish. Because it's a dirty hoover job. You're going through rubbish that rats were through, etc. It's not a nice job. And you come across the stuff and you get the account, and they have to explain how it got there. Because, and especially if it's in a ditch or in a shock, how is it there? It'd be different maybe if they dropped it along the street. Fair enough. But if it's in a bag in the middle of a shock, in the middle of rural Ireland, you have to explain how they got here. And I can't tell you the amount of times the people from Roscommon's identification I've found, and people from other parts, because they drive to different counties. It's insane to say, but they do drive to different counties to make it more difficult. So basically, I think this is a good idea, but I do think I don't think the Minister, Millen-Sandler Dillon, is aware that all the shenanigans are happening too, because it's all well and good but at the end of the day, there has to be bite to it. What I mean by this is only kind of saying we're going to do it. There's no kind of bite to it. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more, and bye.